born on the 15th of Sha'ban, year 255, in the Hijri lunar calendar. The lunar year is about 11 days shorter than the solar year. So, given that this year is 1440, if you subtract 255 from that, that makes the Imam alayhi salam 1185 years old in the lunar calendar. And in the solar calendar, the Imam alayhi salam was born in the year 868, or some sources 869, depending on the actual calculation. That makes the Imam alayhi salam in 2019 about 1150 years. So that's over 1,000 years. And the question is that possible? How can a person survive for so long? We will cite two pieces of evidence that demonstrate this is possible. One is from the Holy Qur'an, and the second is from science. As for the evidence from the Holy Qur'an, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes it very clear that Prophet Nuh alayhi salam lived amongst his people for how many years? For 950 years before the flood, and then he lived hundreds of years after the flood. So he easily exceeded 1,000 years. Assalamu alaikum. So if this happens to one of the prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is possible, why does someone find it impossible to accept that the Mahdi is over 1,150 years old when we have evidence from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that the Mahdi is the 9th descendant of Imam Hussein? Number two, the Ahlul Bayt never separate from the Qur'an, and he will have an occultation until Jesus, son of Mary alayhi salam, reappears. So when this is the case, and we have evidence for that, why should it be difficult to believe that the Imam of our time is over 1,150 years old? So there is evidence in the Holy Qur'an. In fact, the Holy Qur'an tells us about people who were not even prophets. They were not even imams. Yet Allah granted them a long life. Like who? Well, other than Iblis, we're talking about humans. Because they'll tell you, well, Iblis is from the jinn and their characteristics are different. People of the cave, Ashab al-Kahf. They were people, not prophets, not imams, but righteous people who believed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah put them to sleep. At least the imam is living, he eats, he drinks. These people were put to sleep, which is scientifically like impossible. For 309 years, as the Qur'an says. How did they eat? How did they survive for 300 years? So if Allah can make a righteous person, because the person believed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, sleep for over 3 centuries, would it be difficult for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have His representative on earth, here in this world, live this long? What's the problem with that? That's the Quranic evidence that this is possible.
Jesus Christ lives.
Well, they will tell you Jesus Christ was raised to the heavens, and the heavens have different dimensions. They have different conditions. We want evidence from people here on earth. We also have Al-Khidr, who's lived for thousands of years. So we do have others who've lived this long. So if any Muslim from another school of thought objects to us, the followers of Ahlul Bayt, how do you believe in an imam who's lived for so long? That should not be difficult to accept. The Qur'an establishes that this is possible by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What if someone demands scientific evidence? I want scientific evidence that this is possible. Don't talk to me about miracles and supernatural events. Scientifically, biologically, is it possible for someone to live that long or no? Let's see what science is saying. Dr. Aubrey de Grey, he is a scientist, and he's one of the co-founders of SENS Research Foundation. His role in that foundation is the chief officer, science officer. Basically, his mission is to bring an end to biological aging. That's what he does at this institute. I believe he's an Australian scientist. Now, in speaking at a virtual futures event in London, this is what he said. He believes that it is possible to make the current human being live for 1,000 years or more. And he boldly even stated that the first person to live 1,000 years old has already been born. What does he mean by that? That means we have the science that we're working on, that within, maybe a few decades, we will give people the ability to live that long. And that person who's going to live 1,000 years has already been born. If it was biologically impossible, these scientists would not waste their time. They've studied the human body. They know that it's possible. We just haven't discovered it yet. But it's possible. It's possible to have the cells regenerate and let the body just continue living. It's theoretically possible. So if Allah keeps someone alive for so long, there's nothing that would contradict science. In fact, Google is throwing its might into a project to slow the aging process. Even Google is invested in this. And they really think that it's possible for humans in the near future to live 1,000 years. Also, we have the Australian geneticist David Sinclair. He believes that such a pill, which will allow for the cells to regenerate and keep you that long, might be as close as 10 years from now. So possibly in 10 years from now, scientists can crack that pill that allows you to live that long. So we say to these millions of Muslims who object to us, and they mock us for believing in an imam who's living that long, we tell them the Qur'an says it happened. Science says it's possible, and we're just maybe a few decades away. So what's the issue that you have?